Now we know how you can create your test data inside the test classes and use this test data to test your Apex methods and Apex triggers. But sometimes it's hard to test your code accurately if you cannot control the governor limits. For example, when you execute your code or when you insert the new contact record, you get the brand new set of governor limits for that particular transaction. So this means you have your 100 SQL queries, 150 DML statements and all type of governor limits available to you. But when it comes to the test classes, you invest some of these governor limits in creating your test data. For example, take a look at our after insert handler test method. Here in this method, we create two test accounts. So here we have one DML statement, then we have another DML statement and two SQL queries. So this means two of our DML statements and two of our SQL queries are being consumed by the test methods themselves. And we only get the remaining amount of these limits because you need to test your code against the full set of governor limits. And for that, Apex gives us two methods. The first method is test.StartTest. And this method marks the beginning of your test code. And this method gives you the full set of governor limits again. So it doesn't matter how many DML statements you have used in your test method. When you write test.StartTest, you will get a brand new set of those governor limits. So you need to test your code only after test.StartTest. You can use this method only once in one single test method. So if we have three test methods in our test class, then you can use it 3 times in all those 3 test methods. Now very similar to the start test, we also have got the stop test method, which marks the ending of your test code. So you need to use this method once your test code is complete, and only thing remaining is to use the assert statements. So your assert statements go after the stop test method. You can use this method only once in one single test method. So in this video, we are going to write our code to test the update handler method from contact trigger handler class, and we are going to use our test.StartTest and test.StopTest as well. Let's go back to our test class, and here now we need to write the test methods for after update handler method. So let me create a new method here. So first we need to create our test data. So I'm going to copy everything from top. So here we have our test data. Now in order to test this after update handler method, we need to update our contact records. So either we need to mark one of the contact from checked to unchecked, or some kind of update operation we need to do. So first we are going to retrieve our contacts. Let's copy that from previous methods. Here it is. And now I'm going to iterate over these contacts so that I can mark one of them as active, or maybe we can mark a couple of them as active. Let's also retrieve the last name here along with ID so that we can get the last name here inside our for loop. So I'm going to mark my test1 as active, or I'll also mark the test2 as active as well. So let's copy the same statement and join them with the or condition. So if it is either test contact 1 or test contact 2, we will mark this contact's active _c field as true. And then in the end, we'll update this all contacts. So that should be it. Now we are using our update statement, which is going to call this after update event from our trigger. And this trigger is going to call our after update handler method, which in turn will call our account contact service method. By the way, this is already 100% covered, and now we'll just cover it one more time. So now let's go back to our test class, and here when you write this update statement, you have already consumed 2 DML statements and 1 SQL query. So this means you have already consumed some part of your governor limits. But we do not want to do that. We want our update event to have full set of governor limits. For that you can use test.StartTest here. So it will be like test.StartTest. And then once this is done, once you write your update statement, then you can close it with the test.StopTest. Because now we need to test if our account has been updated accordingly or not. Because our first account should have 2 contacts associated with this. So I'm going to copy some part of the code from the previous methods because I know I have written it somewhere. Yeah, this part. Let's copy everything. And we are going to paste it after the stop test. So now I'm getting all my accounts again, and if it is test1, then we should have the active contacts value as 2. The test2 should still have null value because we haven't marked any of the contact as active for the test2 account. And then we are also making sure that our contact size is 5 because here we are only creating 5 contacts. So let's save our code and let's deploy this class. There's some error in our class. Let's see what it is. Duplicate variable. Okay, on line number 134. Oh yeah, actually we have already written this query somewhere on top, so we do not need to do that again. I'm going to remove it from here because we already know the result of this query here in this all contacts list. Let's deploy this one more time, and now we can run our test classes. So I'm going to use my terminal and I'm going to run the same command again which I ran last time so that I can also get the code coverage. Or you could directly click on this run all tests, but this is not going to give you the code coverage. If you want to get this command, then you can easily get it from the output section. When you click on this run all test button, you'll get the command that Salesforce executes behind the scene. Copy the same command and paste it inside the terminal window. Okay, so our tests were successful and looks like our contact trigger handler class code coverage is now at 48% because now we are also testing the update handler method. I'm going to write one more test for update handler method, and this time I'm going to make changes to the account ID and also the active checkbox for one single contact. And this time I'm going to change the account ID of a contact and also flip the active checkbox value. So let's copy this complete method, paste it here, and here what I want to do is remove this test contact 2 condition, and for test contact 1 I want to mark active as true, and I'll change the account ID as well. So this should be the test account ID 2. Let's get the first element dot ID. Now what should happen in this case? Here we are marking this as active, but we are also changing the account ID from first to second. So this means our test account 1 should still have 0 active contacts, and our test account 2 should have active contact as 1. So I'll use null here for the first one and I'll use 1 for the second one. So this should be the result that we are expecting, and let's see if our code is behaving in the same way, the way we are expecting it to be. If it is not, then definitely there is some issue with our code. So let's deploy this class. Again we have got some error. Okay, we haven't changed the method name. It should be test method 2. Okay, so the deployment was successful. Now let's run all our tests. Or you could execute the command from terminal window as well. Here our test run is successful, and all our tests are executing fine. So that means even if you do the reparenting from one account to other account, our code is working fine. So that's all in this video. Just make sure that you use these test.startTest and test.stopTest in your test methods, because these are going to give you the new set of governor limits, and they are also helpful in testing your async apex, but we'll talk about that later on once we have the knowledge of async apex.